Hi, can you hear me? Okay, cool. I think I am live. So I think there is some slight hiccup on, and I didn't honestly know what went live on. Okay, cool. Thank you so much for introducing, and hello and welcome. My name is Biswajeet. I work at Google for last 7 years so far, and I welcome you all to this amazing event called DSC OMG. DSC stands for Developer Student Clubs. It is a developer student club is like a developer community based out of colleges. They are present in 200 plus colleges, and they exist for like a batch. So the 2019-20 batch was present in 200 plus colleges across India in 120 plus cities. Um, and these people who are graduating like very soon from this program, they have come up with like this first edition of this event called DSC OMG. OMG stands for Online Mega Gathering. So this will be like a 5-day event with a lots of sessions and so on. And on behalf of DSC community in India and the DSC OMG team, I welcome you all. And I hope you have a fantastic opportunity to learn something new and have a great time knowing and interacting with a lot more people. Before I start, I just want to just let me just allow me a moment to talk about what's happening. The COVID-19 pandemic is far from over. It has caused extreme amount of panic and suffering across the world, and this is happening in you in where you're living. It's I think this is affecting all of us. It's affecting our family members, our societies, our organizations, and so on. I take this moment to thank everyone who are at the front lines of COVID response, be it doctors, nurses, healthcare professionals, police force, administrators, bankers, and essential service providers. We have the liberty of staying at home, but a lot of people can't afford that luxury. Speaking of like work from home, I think I have been at home for last 3 months now. It's not normal. You try your best to basically cope up with this new environment. I go through phases of like when I'm really happy and really motivated, and there are like some phases where I honestly feel also depressed. This there is a good amount of time which you can invest in learning something new and um, gaining new skills. For example, I have been trying to improve my ability on my left hand and my left leg. I am like my active hand and leg is like right, but I've been trying to see that whenever I play football, can I use my left leg more from a non-work perspective. So use this time to basically, I think, learn new things, gain new skill sets, and things like that when exams are not probably happening or there is so much uncertainty when colleges are going to be open and so on. That's why I think I see this event, DSC OMG, is a fantastic opportunity for everyone. And for all of you who will basically witness this 5 days, there are 5+ tracks. There is a day dedicated to projects built by the DSC communities and so on. There are like this 200+ chapters are behind this thing, so which I hope will be significantly amazing. All the details are on the dscomg.com, and there are some Instagram and Twitter handles also you can follow. This is my first talk, and this is the first talk of this event series. I just wanted to set some ground rules for all of you. I hope you don't take me as a teacher, but this is basically just think about these three things whenever you are interacting with DSC OMG for next 5 days, and hopefully this will also help you in your career and your life going forward. First, be nice. We are a part of the same community, so be friendly, be welcoming to everyone whenever you speak. Be someone, I mean, that other people will love to be around. Second, be respectful and be constructive. You can differ in your opinions, you can differ in your thought processes. It's absolutely fine. But be nice about it. Be constructive about it whenever you are giving some suggestions or ideas and so on. And don't get into things like personal attacks. or vent or rant about something and someone whenever you are interacting. And these interactions can go from anything, right? Whenever you are putting something on the chat window, or when you are basically interacting on social media, or posting about this thing somewhere, or talking about this to someone. Third thing, be a learner. Listen to all the amazing people that we are going to listen over the next 5 days. Be curious about it, challenge assumptions, but be in that learning phase. You have committed yourself this time to watch DAC OMG, and I hope this session will justify that that curiosity. But be in that phase where you are able to learn a lot of new things. Before I start, I just wanted to basically, when I think the DC leads approached me for a keynote, I was not very sure how to approach this. I am not very sure about who are going to watch this. My assumption is a lot of students, and who are probably at home figuring out whether exams are going to happen, or there is a lot of uncertainty out there. And I was thinking, okay, what can I say, and what can I basically speak, which can help them and which can help them navigate this tough times, as well as get the best out of this event called DAC OMG. For that, I basically looked inward, and I looked inside, okay, what I have been and what I am doing. I was also a student not so long time back, and I have been shaped and influenced by a lot of people who are from diverse fields. So taking some of those inspirations and taking some of those insights, I have put together this 10-15 minute talk, which might help you. This just gives a framework of how to think about tough times, how to think about what to focus on in general when you progress through a career and through life. Hopefully this will be helpful. If it doesn't, or if it does, give feedback, write it in comments, and so on. I want to make it also interactive, so I will also ask questions which you can also answer on the chat. I might not be able to see because I'm in a tool, but feel free to interact. A bit about myself. So my name is Biswajeet. I have already said that. I am a computer science engineer turned MBA. So I have degrees in both. So which kind of makes me sort of suitable to basically traverse through, what happens in a tech company, what happens through a tech ecosystem. So I'm more or less comfortable around that part. And that has been my experience throughout my work. Last 7 years, Google has been my home. I have worked in 3 different teams. Started with ads, then was a program manager in Google Maps team. And for the last 2 years, I have been the India lead for all the developer community programs from Google. So I basically manage community programs like GDG, DSE, GDE, and so on. I am a massive football fan. I love watching, I love playing. I have strong opinions about a lot of things, but I don't hold them very hardly. I hold them loosely, which means I'm willing to basically listen to counterpoints and change sides and change my perspective if I am wrong. But I am also very, very strongly data-driven. So you need to really convince me that, hey, I think whatever the other perspective is backed by data and so on. I love writing, and whether it is like blog or emails. I used to blog a lot when I was a student. I dropped it and I have come back again very recently. My blog is at this link called biswakpl.com. If you are curious about why this is called BiswaKPL, there is also a section where it answers why it is BiswaKPL. So feel free to go to that link. So as I told you, right, like for preparing for this talk, I had to basically see what made me, when I was in college, what shaped my life, what shaped my career. And there are the 3 things, and there are like some funny images how I used to look like when I was in college. And you can see there is like some difference in many things. But yeah, so there are like many things which were not there, which are now. For example, I think like I am assuming all of you have phones or smartphones, right? Phone was not a thing then. So I didn't have a phone until I went to my MBA. I didn't have a phone Forget about smartphone. Smartphone or like the first touchscreen phone sort of came, and a friend of mine had around in third year. But this became a reality, I think, once I graduated of engineering. Access to computer was also not widespread. It is now, which is really good. My dad bought my first computer, which is not a laptop, which is like a desktop computer, when I was in second year. I was a computer science student, so first year, everything C and all those things, I had to depend on my college lab. Internet penetration was very scarce. I think everyone depended on mostly BSNL broadband at that time. My internet connection at home came in the third year. Um, and yeah, but despite these challenges, I absolutely adore my engineering days. I look back, and I am absolutely sure you will also do that whenever you graduate. When I reflect back, three things come to my mind. So friends, the friendships that I cherished, the projects that I did, and the experiences that I had. So basically, I think I was basically exposed to a lot of new people who really influenced my life and my line of thinking and the way I am. They are still my probably closest circle and my best friends. I was exposed to a lot of diverse thoughts. I started reading English novels for the first time when I was engineering. I started writing, basically writing blogs. I used to be in like essay competitions and all when I was school, but I started writing like blogging and all when I was in college. So a lot of those experiences and basically some of the projects that I did, like in my summer years, if I go back like 10 years back or something, I was very proud of like doing two different projects. At that time, Orkut was very famous, so I wanted to do a clone of Orkut, basically things like Orkut using like PHP and I think some SQL server and yeah, very very rudimentary stuff. Another project which was my final year project and which might become a reality sometime soon is we were trying to do like a system where online polling will happen, like basically national level polling. National pollings happens online. And if you know, I think the Americans, in the US, the Democratic primary, one of the states, it happened very recently. It didn't happen. It didn't go that well. But I mean, these are the practical things which might happen in future. So these are the three things which shaped my life. So based on those things, I will talk about four things today to all of you. And I hope if you remember these four things and if you take this away, this might help you in basically going through the DAC OMG sessions. Second, might help you thinking about your own career and life in general in future. The first one I wanted to talk is curiosity. I think it's a lot of people say about this, like being curious is basically nobody's asking you the answer to anything, but you are in general curious about finding out. There are like a lot of like management concepts. They say 5 whys. If there is a problem, you go to like 5 why in order to understand. Basically, you are curious about why this happened, then why this happened, and then why this happened. If you think about fields like data science, or this is all about curiosity, right? Like this ML engineers or data scientists, they're curious about why something is happening. Scientists, the main characteristics they have is curiosity, why something happens some way. So I want all of you to think about think about curiosity. Okay, am I being curious enough? And while you are doing that, I have a few tips for you. How many of you can recognize these people? Please put in like comments if you can recognize these two people. Okay. The first, the one on the left is is Tiger Woods when he used to be a kid, and on the right one, I think it's probably fairly easily recognizable. It's Roger Federer. So both are like excellent people in their own field. They are like the top probably 0.01% in their own respective field. They're legends for golf and tennis, but both took very, very different approaches when it comes to finding excellence. Uh, Tiger Woods started winning golf tournaments and competitions when he was very, very young. So this photo, I think he won like a under 10 golf competition when he was just 2 years old. Contrast to Roger Federer, he was just playing it for like fun. He was just playing with friends. There was no family pressure. His mother was not basically pressurizing that you're doing it well, so do a career in tennis or something like that. So he found it through like, hey, I'm just like I like it. I want to do it. His ambition was maybe meet like a tennis legend or maybe like play in Wimbledon someday, but not basically rule the world of tennis, right? So my advice to you is don't choose too quickly. Don't choose sites now that hey, I will be a web developer, so my curiosity should only belong to web, or I want to be a machine learning developer, my curiosity should belong to machine learning. The second advice I have for you is inspiration can come from anywhere. I mean, like there are like I just wanted to give two examples. So any idea who is on the left? I used to enjoy quizzing, so I've just like integrated a little bit of both. And any idea who is on the right? On the right, there might be some cues already, but feel free to add in comments. So the left hand is called is Galileo, who I am very sure all of you have heard about. On the right hand side, they are the two founders of Firebase. So Galileo, I think this is the story. Galileo was in a church. He was bored. And so basically there is like a minor earthquake which happened, and the chandelier in the church started swinging. And he was bored, so he compared like time of each arc and to his own pulse, and just to see whether, I mean, like what's the relation. So he became very curious about it. He went on and he tried different weights, different lengths, and he discovered that the time of each arc was constant. And that brought the invention of pendulum clock, which was the first accurate clock to measure time as we know it. Before that, every other clock used to be slightly inaccurate. They might lose or gain 15 to 20 minutes per day. So this curiosity of like, there is this chandelier which is swinging and how that is relating to his own heart pulse is made this invention possible, and probably is behind everything that we are doing in science. If we can't measure time correctly, then how can we do scientific research? On the right hand side, these are the two individuals who are Firebase founders. Firebase did not start as Firebase. It was basically a startup called Involve. And the idea was to basically provide like an API which enables the integration of online chat functionality. That was the initial idea. But what they discovered is basically people are using to pass application data which are not chat messages. So basically state of the applications and so on. So this made them realize, okay, we can make it a separate product, and that made Firebase happen. The third tip for curiosity I have is people take different ways to be the best. If you can, I know all of you know the person on the left, but see if you have people on the right. So Steve Jobs in my opinion, was not the best software engineer, was not the best designer, or was not the best marketing person. He was a combination of many things. Okay, and he was probably in the top 1% or 0.001% of the intersection of product, engineering, design, marketing. But on the right side, this is Tim Berners-Lee, who is famously called as the father of internet, or who invented the World Wide Web. He was like a proper software engineer, right? And he was interested and curious about networking and how we can connect different computers and pass information and packets and stuff like that. And he was the best during his era. So what I meant to say is like different people take different paths to go there. Some like this is also famously called as generalist versus specialist. You can choose to be a specialist and be try to go to the top 1%, but you can also be a generalist and be the best in the intersection of many things. You can be like top 10% of multiple things, which will make you in the top 1% of together thing. So summarizing three things in curiosity: don't choose too soon. Inspiration can come from anywhere. Different ways are there to be the best. My second topic is about connections. One thing which you have already realized and which will very soon realize is how powerful connections are in our lives, be it professional, be it personal, anything. I hear this word. I have been hearing this word networking forever in my life, since my college days to my MBA, which when it went on a peak, and then in my job also. I don't like it. I honestly don't like it. I like more of a like a from a personal perspective, form very deep and strong connections with a few people. That ensures happiness, and it needs a lot of work. But when it comes to work, don't shy away from meeting new people and working with a variety of people. So on those lines, I have a few examples and few tips. Any guess about what this image is? Any idea? Okay, you can comment on the chat on the YouTube. This is famously called as PayPal Mafia. So this is basically a group of former employees and founders of PayPal who have, after PayPal was sold, they went and basically founded a huge variety of successful internet companies in the Silicon Valley: LinkedIn, Tesla, SpaceX, Yelp, YouTube, Yammer, so many things. And I think you can see a bunch of people. There is like Peter Thiel, there is Reid Hoffman, Max Levchin, Elon Musk is not in this picture, but yeah. So what happened in PayPal is basically, it had people from multiple streams, and the culture was so that excellence breeds excellence, right? People were inspired by others, and each of them pushed basically each other to to be the best. I don't know how many you can recognize. I think probably the bottom two you can recognize, but the top two I'm not sure. So the first left on the top one is Bill Gates and Paul Allen, founders of Microsoft. On the left, again on the bottom is Steve Jobs and Wozniak. And on the right, the top one, who are like P&G co-founders, Procter and Gamble, and on the bottom, Larry and Sergey. So all of these people found each other in very, very strange circumstances. Like, for example, P&G founders, they were brother-in-laws. Like Gates and Allen were friends from school, but they actually started this whole thing when they were employees of same company, and so on. So keep an open mind about when you are forming connections. You would be surprised anytime. Then the third one, value systems matter. I don't know how many of you will recognize this building. This is Bell Labs, which was arguably one of the most innovative and research institutions in last 50 years or 100 years. So there is a famous book on this, The Idea Factory. Read it; it's amazing. And so many inventions came out of this: radar, silicon, the chips, nuclear reactors. A lot of like initial inventions happened here. And they say why it happened here is basically, I think, the value systems that they hold. It was very creative. Different people came together to meet here. There are like they made interactions of engineers, physicists, chemists, mathematicians happen together, and that made this whole new inventions possible. So value systems of the people that you are meeting also matter. Again, summarizing these three things: what you are surround yourself with, keep an open mind, and value systems matter. The third thing I wanted to talk about is community, and I have three tips for you. So basically, find your own tribe. We find ourselves comfortable around people where we flourish, where we are not judged, where our like we are appreciated and we are loved. And that might not be anywhere. You might appreciate, or you might think that, hey, I want to be this in this organization, or I want to be in this community, or in this group of friends, or in this society. But it's also very important that they also appreciate you and you find it home. So take time to find your tribe. Whenever you're thinking of a community to belong in, take time. So don't rush into it. And when you do that, be a part of something, be a part of the larger cause. So some of the images here is like, on the right there is like Harley Davidson, on the bottom there is this Swami Army. So be a part of the cause, and that basically makes the whole community experience successful and helpful. Third thing, whenever you are a part of the community, ask about the value systems, because value systems matter a lot. A quick story. I'm a huge fan of Liverpool, and I try to put like any Liverpool picture whenever I'm presenting. And I think this is this slogan of Liverpool, and this is played whenever Liverpool plays. You will never walk alone. This is formed basically like, irrespective of how, whatever the fortunes are of the club, people stand by, and that forms this strong bond between the club and the community of the supporters. And the community of the supporters sometimes do things which, I mean, like basically they change directions of the club. So that value system, that we will never walk alone, combines these people and makes them stronger. So across the world, I might not have seen Liverpool playing football in my real life, but I'm equally passionate about this cause and this thought process. Summarizing these three things: find your tribe, be a part of something, value systems matter. Last one, contribute. And this would be a learning after you go through DAC OMG. Maybe you will be a DAC lead next year. Maybe you will do projects which are amazing. Maybe in your life you'll do something amazing. But don't just take from the community or from others. Also build, also contribute. And I have three things you can do. Speak up whenever things are uncomfortable, whenever you don't like something, whenever you strongly have opinions about something which is wrong, which creates inequality in the world, which makes our future generations suffer for our own actions. Speak up. Build. There are some amazing examples. I just took some of these examples from Google developers site, where these amazing videos are there. Go and watch it. There is this Samay who is a DAC lead on the top left, who has built like a hearing aid, which is amazing, using Android. On the right left, there is this story from IIT Delhi, the people who have created like an air filter using air pollution marker using a TensorFlow. And then there are amazing stories like Nazarini or Hatsu, who have created amazing solutions in their own community. Most of these are students, but they have created some solutions which helps the society, which helps the community. So build and help others selflessly. Be it teaching other kids, be it helping your classmate, be it helping your project, helping others in your class. Help. These two gentlemen are like a personal inspiration: Khan Academy founder and Quincy Larson from Free Code Camp. I think the way they inspire and the way their efforts help millions of students across the world learn freely is simply inspiring. So I hope you are also inspired to help others without selflessly. And if you're curious about what problems to solve, I mean, pick up any of these things. These are 17 Sustainable Development Goals United Nations have identified for a better world. You can go and check it on their site. But yeah, think on those lines, whether you are helping or your solutions are helping from the top of the pyramid versus bottom of the pyramid. And always, like, these three things are super important right now: whether your solutions help reduce inequality, help improve our situation on climate change, help improve our situation on social division or hatred, which is paramount across the society. So, build solutions, speak up, contribute on those grounds. We have come to a close of my presentation, so I'm just going to summarize again those four things. And always be curious, form connections, belong to a community, contribute. These four things. Keep that in mind. I hope this helps. I hope this inspires you. And have an amazing event for next 5 days and contribute to the chat, interact with other people, and learn and listen. That's about it. Thank you so much. I think someone will join soon.
It was a great pleasure to listen to you, sir. Now that we are all warmed up for the evening today, I'll tell you that we are going to serve you a full three-course meal today. There are keynotes, some games in the break, and of course, the gala dinner at your very own homes. Let's get started with the next session. If Leonardo da Vinci were to wake up from his grave, he would be profound of the altitudes that we have climbed in the arena of engineering and the magnificent projects that we have built. मालूम के नहीं. Moving to Ahmedabad, a double GDE in Flutter and Dart is joining us for the keynote of Mobile in Moments. As the modern day Julius Caesar said, I came, I saw, and I realized I could have seen this place over the Google Maps. Linking to the next talk, we have a brilliant leader and a technologist par excellence. Without further ado, I welcome before you Mr. Dhrumil Shah for his talk, Google Map with Flutters. Welcome, sir. Handing over the place to you, sir.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Harsh, for a great introduction. I really loved it, the way you introduced me. And I can, remember the last time when you visited Ahmedabad, and it was a super fun. So
Same,
it was
sir.
a great platform. Thank you for inviting me for this. So let's get started.
Sure, sir.
Yeah. Let me know once my screens are visible.
It's visible, sir.
Awesome. Thank you. So I will not take much time because I guess I have to complete it around 6:50, but I have only 12 minutes. Uh, let's see how much I can, compress this thing and deliver to you. So everyone, I know the topic is like Google Maps with Flutter. So before we start, I just want to set the context of it. So how these things are going to be and at what level we are going to discuss this. So this is just a kind of a basic introduction that how actually you can introduce or show a Google map on your Flutter application. Because there are some challenges with the Google Maps to get this on your Flutter mobile application. And just to make those challenges out of your process, I'm just making this simple so that you can have this very simple way. So just a basic introduction that what I'm doing right now. So I'm working as a remote mobile application developer at a company called Go High Level. So yeah, before this pandemic happened, I was working from home only. So for me, it becomes so easy to set this process or working from home. Apart from this, I also got an opportunity to run a tech community called GDG Ahmedabad, and me and my other team members, we are running this community since last 7 years, I guess more than 7 years. And last year, I got an opportunity to become as a Google developer expert for Flutter and Dart. And there's another thing which I'm running, which is the Flutter Flicks. It's a Twitter handle. If you want any kind of latest information, what is happening in the Flutter works, just go and follow that. You will get all the latest information from that. So in 2018, this is just a kind of bit story which I want to share. That Biswajeet had posted or discussed that how actually you can grow as a student and how you can achieve some of the milestones. So in 2018, I started exploring the Flutter. Earlier 2018, I was working as an Android developer. So why I started exploring the Flutter? Because अपन को जिंदगी में कुछ daring करना था. So anything comes new, it always just trigger me that hey Dhrumil, just go and just check. But one thing that everyone here who are listening this should know that not everything comes into the market. You need to go and explore it. One which is actually adding to your skill set and actually sharpening your current skill set. Go for that. Don't get into the FOMO kind of stuff that, hey, anything is coming into the market and I need to explore it. No. Make yourself a clear path and then jump on it. So after exploring the Flutter last year, almost on the same day, so you can see the date is like June 21. I've been awarded with the title called GDE based on my contribution and whatever I'm doing. So it's like a 1 year anniversary for me, and I'm celebrating this with you all guys with this DAC OMG platform. So thank you so much for everyone for having me. So let's get started. Yeah, this is a kind of celebration thing. So let's get started. So whenever we want to do anything on the Flutter, what we do, we simply go to pub.dev. This is kind of our Bible that we can find any question answers as in terms of our library. So I did the same thing. I wanted to start implementing the Flutter. I mean, implementing the Google Map into the Flutter. I went to pub.dev. I simply searched Google Map and boom, lot of packages over here. And I don't know which one is good and which one is not. You can see that there are Google Maps location picker, Google Map polyutil. So I started, doing like one by one. And I'm like, shit, there is no official plugin available. What should I do? I started digging in one by one. At the one point, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do this until and unless, the Google or the Flutter team will release a video or something. I'm not going to explore anything. So one point of time, I, thought this. But again, the one thing been said to you, if you are, very dedicated and if you want to get the things done, you should be, stick to this. So I was just, digging each and every packages and exploring one by one. And I got this one, which is like Flutter Maps, Google_Maps_Flutter, and this one. Now, the pub.dev has a very good feature so that you can actually verify this, whether who is the author of it. So here it says there is a flutter.dev. So now I am relaxed that finally I got something from the official Flutter team and I don't need to worry about it. But here, again, it comes with, kind of caution. Currently, it is into the developer preview, this plugin. What does that mean? That means in future, that can be a breaking changes. So while you're using it, please be aware of it. So if you're going to try this Google Map thing, whatever I'm going to share today, and if after some months it will not work, just go and check whether they have updated a library or not. So let's get started. This is the latest version of the Google Map that you can do. In Flutter, you need to go to your pubsec.yml file, copy this line and paste it, and simple save. Everything will be done automatically. Once you are done, to implement your Google Map in your mobile device, you need to get the API key of your Google Map. For that, you need to jump to the cloud.google.com/map platform. Once you go there, you need to search for Maps SDK and enable the API. Simple, and you will get the API key. This is a very simple process, which I'm not going into the detail because we have the limited time. And this document is pretty well available on the documentation. I'm going to touch upon on the difficult points. So let's just set up for the Android. What we need to do for the Android, because Flutter is running on Android and iOS both. So we need to do a setup for both the platform if we want our app running in both the platform with the Google Map. So in Android, we will go to the Android manifest, the main Android manifest file. We'll add this metadata where we will add this particular name, and in API, whatever the API key you will receive from your cloud, you will just simply paste it over here. This is for the Android. Pretty simple, right? Now iOS. In iOS, first thing you need to do is you need to import a Google Maps as in your package, and then you need to write this line, which is like gms services.provide API key. Put the same key over here. Also, in iOS, you need to write this line into your info plist. Here, what it denotes is that this flutter.embedded views preview, it should be enabled for the iOS. Once you are done, it's good. Now, let's code in Flutter. Simple, right? So setup is done. Now, to do in Flutter, As we know, in Flutter, everything is a widget. Here, this Google Map plugin has the widget called Google Map. Simple. So here we have the Google Map plugin, where we have the initial camera position, as we can see. Initial camera position, where I have put it my latitude, longitude, and my zoom level. And also there is a one more parameter called on map created, and it gives me a controller. Now what did controller do? It actually gives me that object controller, and using that controller I can play with the Google Map, whatever I want to do. We'll see later. Also we can change our map type. The default map type is a territory. The next is like a satellite. If I want to change, I can do just simply put it one parameter and just pass the key. As simple as that. Yes, this is Flutter. But a one GDE told this that never trust the speaker. Ask them to show the code. So let's see in action. Okay, so this is my simple code. As you can see, this is a simple run app where I have my app, a simple my material app. In material app, I have a title and homepage. In homepage, I have given a title, Google Map with Flutter. Let's just first run this application. Okay. So can anyone guess what you will get on the screen? Yes, anyone? A black screen or white screen? Okay. Okay, so here we are getting a pure white screen because this widget is running behind the scenes. And here I have only passed the scaffold. Let's write the code. As you can see, I have added the app bar and in the title. And this title I'm actually getting from here. Okay, let's add a Google Map. Now I have added a Google Map here. In Google Map, you can see I have provided my origin latitude and origin longitude. And here in Google Map, I have simply passed one parameter, initial camera position. Okay, sorry for this glitch. In Google Map, here I'm passing the camera position. And here, the simply whatever my latitude or longitude, I'm passing as my target. And you can see here, my map is being focused over that particular position. Now I want to zoom in that exactly to this location. So I have added the zoom and the value is 25. For that, I need to do a hot restart. Once I do this hot restart, it will zoom into that particular location. Now this is very zoom in. I just need to zoom out a bit. So what I'll do, I have zoom out to 15 and I have also added a parameter called on map created on a controller so that we have that controller and we can work on it. Let me just hot restart again. Now you can see that I have now proper view. Now what we'll do next, we will create a one external variable called controller. This controller will actually hold the object of this particular controller, which has been written by the Google Map. Once I have this, now I want to actually switch between one location to two locations. So I have added two icons button. You can see on the right top, which is like it has been disabled because in Flutter, if on praise I'm passing the null value, the button is disabled. Now what I want to do is I simply add a location. Now I have added the location. You can see the destination, longitude, longitude. And on praise, what I'm doing, I'm actually, going from one location to another. So I'm actually animating the camera from my current location to the destination location. So let me just restart this application again. And let's see what happens. Okay, let me just stop and restart this because as we have added this new thing, it won't take much time. Yeah, my system finally is started and not freezing it. So let's wait for this. So what will happen here on the initial when this particular widget will get loaded? So this widget will get loaded. Here in the target, first it will points towards the original latitude longitude. And when we will click on the right arrow button, this right arrow button, it will move the camera from current location to my destination location. Let's see. Yes, so it is happening. Now I want to go back. So I will write the same code on the previous button. Okay, so finally I have this, and I'll click on here, and I'm here. But here the problem is I'm not able to figure out where exact this particular location is. So what we need to do, we need to put that marker. How we'll do? Simple. In Google Map, there is one parameter called markers. And what marker accepts? Marker accepts this set of markers. Here we can see it accepts set of markers. So what I have done, I have created one list of markers with a blank array. And here on list of markers, I'm just converting to the set. What I need to do, when I click on this next and previous button, I will add that marker, and it should shown on the screen. So on the next, I have added a marker. Let's just try. Okay, now finally I have a marker. I want to see the same thing on my previous button, click. Okay, and let's see. Yes, so finally I got both the markers. Let's just understand what happens here in the marker object. In a marker, I have a marker ID and a position. In a marker ID, I have simply placed a label as in home, and here on the destination, I have added as in office. Pretty simple. And here, the origin latitude, longitude, and destination latitude, longitude, I have already added in the top. Right, I have ordered the precise location. I have just taken it and put it. Now, if I go to next and previous, and I click on it, nothing happens. It just zoom in. But I don't want to zoom in. I want to show that what exactly this location is. So I need that kind of, the bubble that happens on the screen. I need a bit of information that what this marker says about it. So in this Flutter, with the Google Map plugin, we have an info window as in parameter in the marker. So in info window, we have the title and the snippet. Okay, let's just see what happens. If I go to my office, okay, I click on it. Boom, we have this office location. I used to work here. Cool. And I want to do the same thing for my home. Let's just do this. And we have, right? Pretty simple. Right? How much line of code we wrote? 84. And if we check officially, almost like 20 lines of code, and your Google Map is here with the marker. Now, we'll do one thing which is most of the time that everyone are looking for that, which is like we will draw the path or draw the polyline between these 2 points. How we do? For that, we required another plugin. And that plugin is Flutter Polyline Points. Now, this Polyline Points plugin is actually help us to draw the one polyline from one point to another point. Before to get these things, another thing we need to take care of is we need to enable the navigation APIs in Google Map. So in Google Map, whenever you are setting up initially for the Google Map, you will get the Google Map. But to get this path that your points, you need to enable that Google Maps route API. Let me just show you how it works. Okay, clouds console.google.com. Here I'm going. Okay, here you can see that I have a project which is I have created. Here I'll go to APIs and services in the dashboard. In dashboard, I will go to the enable APIs and services. Here I have already enabled this Google Maps SDK. What I'll do is simply go to navigation. Sorry, just a moment. Yes. So here I will get here I will go, and on the dashboard, I have this kind of APIs where I have enabled the directions APIs. If you want to enable any other APIs, you can simply click on the enable APIs, and you can search for that and enable it. So once you enable this directions APIs, only you will be able to get that particular route to show on your map. And to enable this, you must have to add your payment information on Google Cloud. Otherwise, it won't allow that. Okay, that has been clear. Now let's just implement this plugin, how it will work. So what I did, I simply added another icon button here, as in the navigation, and I will write the code here. So here I'm actually importing this package. I require some polylines. On button, I'm writing the code. This code is all about to fetching that particular coordinates between my 2 points. Here you can see I have one object called polyline points. This polyline points I have initialized here. So this polyline points is actually fetch my source and destination. Between source and destination, all the points which I receive from Google Map, it will give me into the result. So this method get route between the coordinates will receives this much of points, which is like Google API key, my origin and destination, my travel mode, and my way of points. Right. So here I have added my API key, my origin, my destination, and my travel mode is like driving. I can change it to like cycling or any other thing, right? Here we have bicycling, driving, transits, anything. So let's just stay with the driving one. Once this is done, what will happen? This method will give me a result of all the points between my home to office. And those points I will put in my polyline coordinates list. So if I say what is this? This is a simple list of my latitude and longitude. So this polyline coordinates, what I'll do is once I receive this into the result, I'll check whether I have the points or I don't. If I have all the points, I'll simply loop over it and add each point to my polyline coordinates. Now, once I got all the points between my home to my office, I'll simply create another method, which is like a polyline, and I will add all those points. So this polyline ID, I have just passing a poly. I can pass anything like from home to office or anything in polyline. And in polyline is a kind of a method, is a class. And here it has the constructor where a polyline ID, a color, and a points. So these points which I receive from my from source to destination, I received all my coordinates, and those coordinates as in latitude, longitude, I'm just passing to this polyline, and this polyline will simply gonna add to this polylines. So I got a one map where I'm receiving all the polylines, and this will gonna add to this map. Now the last thing what I need to do is I simply need to pass this map of polylines to my Google map. The way we did for the markers, I need to do this with the polylines. As simple as that. Let's just run it. Now I'm running it. I just simply click on hot restart and I'm clicking here. Okay, it won't work because I don't have these two positions. And okay, something wrong has happened. Okay, I'm just clicking on it. Okay, so he says 0 result. So there is some issue with the Google Maps API. Let's just figure that out, what happened. So here we pass latitude, longitude. Okay. Destination, origin, destination, driving, waypoint, way to home. Okay, let's just debug this one by one. What happens? What we did wrong? Okay, do we have this? Yes. Do we have this? Yes. Okay, if I click on here, did I got the points? No. So that means there is some issue with this method. Now why? Because I have changed this API key. That's why it is not showing. Okay, and I don't know whether I should show this or not. Okay, you guys can work on it. You guys can take this my credentials, no problem. So what we'll do, I'll go to this, simply copy this copy. Okay, I'll paste it here. This is the same key. Okay, we'll close this app and we'll run this again. Dot. Okay, cool. So this is how you can actually add the polyline from one location to another. Let's just see it in action. Once this gets loaded, we will be having this line on our Google map. Yes, we have the current location. We have this. Okay, does this works? Awesome. Okay, this also works. And these lines. Okay, did we got the points? No. I guess there is some issue. No problem, but this is the core of how you can go with it, and it will surely learn. Sorry for the cracked version of this demo. So I hope you learned this, that how it should work. This is kind of a sample code, and this is the only code that will gonna add this. I will check that why this doesn't work, and I'll put this code on the GitHub and we'll share with you. Okay, so and that's it, guys. So this is how the simple way you can add actually the Google map, the markers, and the polyline doesn't work, that I will gonna make it work today itself and we'll post it. So that's it. And after having, I hope you feel that you are on the chant, because यहाँ पे बहुत कोरोना फैल चुका है, right? Just because of this corona pandemic, I hope. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Over to you, Harsh.
Thank you for sharing your deep knowledge about Flutter with us, sir. It was really inspiring and really knowledgeable, a talk. For next, community events and huge numbers go hand in glove, and Developer Student Club's OMG team is no exception to that role, with over 199 leads from 122 cities across the country coming together. Next stop is the Southern Derby, Bengaluru. My ice break with the next speaker dates back to the DSC Summit 2019, an associate Android developer and a DSC lead at PES University. He loves bringing products to life and feels that there's no way better than building something which directly reaches billions of people around the world. Do we call him an artist? I'll tell you one thing. If building an app is an art, then Yash surely is an artist. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to our next speaker with the topic, the subtle art of building your own app. Yash Pradhan, next up.
Hey, hi Harsh. Hi everyone. Thank you so much for the lovely introduction. I hope I'm audible. I think I should be audible. Okay, cool. Hey guys, once again, welcome. I'm sure you've been enjoying DSC OMG so far. We've had an amazing set of speakers, and it's been a great chance for me to kind of come here and interact with you today. And yeah, I think over the next few days also we're going to be having a lot of fun, and hope you guys stick around for all of that as well. So. Let me start by giving you a quick introduction about myself. Like Harsh mentioned, I'm an associate Android developer. I'm an undergrad currently at at PES University in Bangalore, and like he mentioned, that I really feel that building apps is the perfect way to kind of express your ideas and your thoughts. I think. By building different projects over the years and just working with some amazing set of people, I've had such a great experience, and I would like to share some of that with you, in case you're just getting started with app development or you find this interesting. So hopefully this should be a fun talk. So maybe just a disclaimer before I get started that these are my views, right? These are some of the stuff which I've kind of picked up over, the apps which I've created, and it's something which has like strong opinions. It's not necessary that everyone might feel the same way, and it's just something which has really helped me a lot, and that's what I would like to share with you. So 25-30 minutes to kind of talk about the whole journey of app development is it's a very short time. So I'll probably just touch upon a lot of the points and leave the rest for you guys to explore. All right. So apart from that, if you guys want to live tweet this or get in touch with me afterwards, my Twitter handle is there on the slide over there. So we'll see. We'll hopefully can maybe have a small Q&A towards the end. Depends on how much time we have. But yeah, I think let's get started. Just sit back, relax, and just enjoy the talk. Okay. So building apps in general. So this talk isn't really focused on Android, but it's I'd say it's a more generic talk with a special. I'll probably just prompt you towards stuff which you can do in Android. So I think the first thing which probably comes to your mind is what's up with that title, anyways, right? I'm calling it the subtle art of making your own app. What's the art in this? What's so subtle about it? So let's kind of break it down into these separate words. Art. What's art? Art is nothing but the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination. And I couldn't have put this better. Making an app is nothing but a tool to kind of take your thoughts and bring your thoughts across to not just millions but billions, literally, these days. And that's I think an app is just a perfect way. It's a perfect tool to do that. Just like a paintbrush and a pencil. Think of app as nothing else, nothing more than that. Subtle because it's something which is pretty hard to analyze or describe, and you kind of figure that out as I'm going to go forward with this talk. So finally, why am I calling it your own app? What's the difference? So your own app, what I basically refer to over here is when you control every aspect of the app. In larger companies, you'll have apps with with a big development team in which you have the designers, the actual developers, you have testers, you have the marketing team, the customer service, and it's a whole set of people, right? But in this case, it's your idea which you and maybe your small team is going to be kind of taking forward and bringing to the hands of so many people. So that's what the title's about. Hopefully I've explained it a bit better now. And so when you're getting started with app development, I think there's one question which you can probably ask yourself. That is, why do you want to do this? And I think most of the people can be categorized into two groups as such. The first is those who want to increase their technical knowledge. And if you're one of them, then you understand the relevance of app development. It's been the buzz of the decade, right? And even today, it's so relevant. Knowing a skill like app development can be super valuable, and you're totally not wrong about that. It's such a great skill to have, right? But if you're only looking at it from a technical standpoint, then maybe one aspect which you're probably missing out is a lot of times to learn something well, you need to have a drive for it. And I think for making an app, the biggest drive to learn is having a strong idea. Also, from a technical standpoint, you have so many amazing fields, right? You have all fields like machine learning, cybersecurity, cloud computing, and although these are not mutually exclusive, take it from me that if you spend a lot of time with app development, you might not get as much time to spend with these others. Again, this is my perspective. And so just some things you want to consider when you're getting into app development without having an idea. On the other hand, maybe you have this brilliant idea, you just woke up in the middle of the night and this is something you dreamt of, or maybe it's something which has been kind of nagging you for a couple of months, years, and now you're like, yeah, maybe I should do something about it. Maybe I should build an app. And that's super exciting if you do feel like that. And before I just say, like, before you kind of get ahead of yourselves, there are a few questions maybe you should ask yourself, and these would go something like this. Does this app really make sense here? Sometimes maybe using a service which is already available might make more sense. And does it really solve a problem? So I'm not really talking about the competition over here. You might have other apps which do a similar stuff, but right now just think the idea which you're focusing on, does it really solve a problem? And I think finally it's also about the feasibility of the app. Do you think it's something you can go on and support? You have the time and other resources as well to continue supporting this, because if you invest so much time into building an app, you might as well want to continue with that process. So these are some questions you should ask yourself, and this is not to kind of demotivate you, but rather to refine your app idea, right? And from there, I think let's kind of see that if you have an awesome app idea, and you also have that drive to learn app development, then you're basically, my friend, in the perfect place to get started and start building your own app. So that is kind of the perfect intersection where you should be at if you want to continue your awesome app development journey. So, like, I talked a lot about idea right over here, but what's more important than an idea? I think more important than an idea is the implementation. And I think history has kind of shown this to us time and again. Apple did not invent the mouse. WhatsApp was not the first chat messenger, and iPhone was not even the first real smartphone, right? So what really made the difference here was the implementation. And I think from this, I've sort of made this fake quote as such. Fake because, I mean, it's just something which I put together super quick. But think of originality as not something which, you really find a new idea, but rather you find a new approach to the same idea. And that's a very powerful and very interesting statement, actually. And because, I mean, I totally stand by this. There are more than 3 million apps if you combine the app in the Play Store. So if you have an idea, it's not just possible that there is an app which does the same thing, but you know what? There are probably 10 apps which do the same thing. And that just kind of comes to another point of mine, that, in most cases, there are no new problems also. If you can't find a problem already which is somehow being solved, then maybe you haven't really searched hard enough. And you'll kind of understand why I mentioned problem here and not idea, because think of something like flight booking. The problem which has been around has been booking flights, and over the years you've had different kind of tools to do the flight booking: in person, telephone, websites, now apps, maybe in the future AI and artificial intelligence doing it for you automatically. And so the tools kind of change, but the problems being the same, right? And so that's something which I would just like to say, that don't get stuck up on finding an original idea, but having an idea which has already been done, but just kind of doing it with a new perspective is really powerful too. Getting to the design. Okay, so design, I don't even know where to get started, because it's such an important part of the whole journey. And again, probably one of my fake awesome quotes over here, which is, a bad UI is no easier to implement than a good one. And I mean, if you think of it, that's so true, right? Like, a bad UI and a good UI, if you have the same components, all that really matters. All the real difference is that how you kind of space it around and how you move it. And it might not be tougher to make it a good UI. So why settle for a bad one, right? But I mean, okay, obviously you'll say that not all of us are born that creative and have the skills to kind of make our own amazing designs. And for that, I'll try and give you a different perspective on this, which might make you kind of change the way you feel about it. So how about this? I think all of us, when we use an app, we sort of have this automatic detection. Like, do we like it? Do we not like it? Think of it something like this, like a spidey sense. Okay, probably that's a bit more dramatic, but maybe something like cooking. when you might not be an expert in cooking, you might not even know cooking, but you definitely understand if you like food or not, right? If you like a particular dish. And think of it in a similar way. One of the things we talked about was, you might already, or you most likely have a lot of competition already, and maybe that disadvantage is something which you can play to your advantage over here. If you have 10 apps which have kind of already done a similar solution to the problem, then think of it like 10 different cracks at solving the problem and 10 different UIs, and take inspiration, identify the shortfalls among those. And it's not about copying the UI, because if you're just going to copy the whole thing, then why would your app even exist, right? There's an app which is already there. But what I'm talking about here is mixing and matching stuff and understanding different UI elements from existing apps, and especially those related to your idea or your application. Hey, hi. Awesome. So I think I'm sorry, the light went over here. So I'll try and get back the PPT, if that is possible. Hold on. Just bad timing, I guess. Let's see. Okay. Think I have gotten it. Hopefully you can see the screen again. Sorry for that interruption. But all right. So like I was talking about, we have, hold on one second. Still can't see the screen. Okay, just give me a moment. All right. Awesome. Hopefully you can see my screen again. I am going to try and get it to full screen. Okay. So very quickly coming back to the point. I think what you can do is you can mix and match a lot of the stuff which is already there, and kind of and reimagine this whole process, right? Build your own UI through it. This one tip which kind of already popped up, but which I wanted to come to very soon was, when you're just starting off, you might want to just stick to doing low fidelity sketches. What do I really mean by low fidelity sketches? That's just like drawing on a piece of paper, just rectangles and boxes and buttons, and kind of give a flow of your app. And that's an awesome way to kind of have what do you say? It's an awesome way to kind of just refine your idea and make it more clear in your mind as well. If you're more experienced, you should definitely try out some awesome prototyping softwares like Adobe XD, Figma, and Sketch. And these really help. Once you create the UI, these can be really useful to kind of easily convert them into code. And that's the whole idea behind using prototyping softwares like these. So that's about the design, right? And I think after the design, the other important factor, which this is one of the questions with which most people have asked me, and that is, what SDK shall I use? What platform should I start developing for? And I'll just tell you that when I started developing, probably in like 2014. For me, the choice was honestly pretty simple, because you had you had just basically cross-platform was a mess, okay? And you had Android development, the native Android development or native iOS development. And being a PC user, I did not have access to the iOS SDK, and because for that you need to have a Mac. And so being a PC user at that time, for me the choice was pretty simple. And if you notice, this is one of the considerations which you have to take in account already, right? The development side of it. And that is the factor which I looked at, because I didn't really start with an idea when I got into app development. Now, maybe if you do start with an idea, stuff gets a bit more interesting. You don't just look at developer constraints, but you also look at the market. What do I mean by when I talk about the market, right? I mean, in India, you have a market share of 95% for Android, which is, it's huge. And mostly, I think that means everyone just uses Android over here. And again, of course, it depends on your exact market segment, but 95% is a huge thing. And so if you have an Android app, at least initially, that makes a lot of sense in India. Whereas maybe in the US, you have a market share of 55% for iOS and around 45% for Android. So it's almost the same. So just releasing one of the apps would mean you're targeting a very small segment of your users. And that is basically what I mean by marketing. You have to kind of analyze the use case of your app. Apart from that, so I mean, you might think that, why not cross-platform? That just seems like the obvious, easy choice, right? And I mean, I would say that that even though cross-platform has made a lot of improvements in the last few years, it's not perfect, right? And it's still growing a lot. But maybe if you have an app which is super hardware dependent and really intensive with that, with using hardware, then you won't really get the same performance on a cross-platform solution. Or if you're targeting stuff like wearables or Android TV, I mean, you have to stick to native development. And also performance. When they say performance, a lot of times they're like, native like performance. But if you see, the benchmark is always going to be native development. And all of these are amazing platforms. And I think the most important thing you have to kind of just understand is learn the art, not the tools. I've been an Android developer for years, and I recently got started with Flutter. And although they seem so different on the surface, I quickly realized that, the same set of skills which I've kind of developed for Android development have been super useful for me even in Flutter. And so that's the thing. Just learn the art and not the particular tools. Okay, so building the app, I don't want to talk about this in too much detail because I think there's some wonderful tutorials depending on the platform you're choosing. The documentation is A1 for everything. And I would just say that go through these tutorials, take your time, understand, and if you have an idea, directly start working on it. Build it in steps. And talking about building in steps, this is a philosophy I really have followed and I really believe in, which is the onion philosophy. And what that means is that when you're building your product, start by building the core of it, the MVP, the minimum viable product. And once you have that, you start adding layers to it. You start adding complexity, and you add extra app features. And this way, you'll really avoid overwhelming yourself with tons of work. And so this is a great philosophy which you should keep in mind when you're doing your app development. Once you complete it, once you build your app, the logical next step would be deploying it. And I'm just going to take a quick example for Android, where you build the app in Android Studio. You generate a signed APK or an Android bundle, and you basically upload it to the Google Play console, which is your management tool for uploading apps to the Play Store. Over here, you define your store listing, you give it a content rating, you put pictures, screenshots, and it's a one-time $25 fee for making all your apps. So there's no additional fee for each extra app. And with the Google Play console, you also get access to stuff like the Google Play billing library and the Google Play games thing. So you'll have access to achievements and all to integrate with your games. And so once you do that, I'm sure you know that the apps are downloadable from the Play Store for all your users. So that's about building the app. But is that it? Do we stop there? Maybe if you're working in a big company and you're a developer, or maybe like a freelancer, this is probably where you stop, right? You might do the initial stuff. Some of them might be split up amongst other people. Some of it might be done together by one person. But most of the times, your marketing team and your customer service and all is a different set of people altogether. But when you're building your own app, this is just half the work, and literally your other half starts now. And reaching your users is just so important. What's the point of an app which no one knows about? And I think everyone kind of starts the same way, right? When you make an app, first thing you do is tell your friends and family. You share it on social media. But what after that? Okay, maybe if your app is good, your friends would tell their friends, and it starts a chain, and your app might start growing slowly. But maybe your app is targeted to a very specific section of people. So then maybe you might want to talk. You might want to share this with that specific section of people through stuff like magazines, or reaching out to relevant influencers on social media, etc. But even that is, there's a lot of factors which you don't really have under your control. And so for that, I think, you can see me pointing towards the main thing in the middle right there, which is App Store optimization. And this is just something which I feel every person must do when they're kind of releasing their app to the Play Store or the App Store too. And the concept is really simple. You identify the right keywords and try out different store listings and see what really works for you. If your app is about is for example, my app Naplam, that's about creating location-based alarms. So I have to have keywords like location alarm, and the whole thing is basically identifying what are the right keywords for your application. And this is a process which you can do a lot of trial and error with. And there's actually a statistic like 70% of the apps on the Play Store get 99% of their downloads through direct searches. So it's really important that you increase your ranking on the Play Store to get to a point where whenever user searches for something related to your application is right there to show them all the amazing features you have to offer. So I think along with ASO, App Store optimization, there's one more feature as such which I would like to touch upon, which is localization. It kind of goes hand in hand with this. And what localization basically is that kind of specializing your app for that particular community or a particular community, maybe a country, maybe a set of people. And this works really well, in fact, with apps which have a global reach. So maybe an application like Calculator or a game, these really have a universal appeal. And so localization can really make a big difference. And I think I would want to kind of talk a bit more upon that as well. During our initial analysis, a lot of times we focus on solving the problem at hand, right? We kind of understand, okay, these are our users, but do we really understand our users that time? The truth is no. We understand our users only after we kind of have our app ready, we deploy it, and people actually start using it. And there are some great tools for that. Understanding your user can be done by these amazing set of tools, and I just want to talk a bit about those. We have our good old Play console, which has a decent set of statistics where the kind of the location where people are downloading it from and the downloads and stuff. But what if your app is cross-platform? What if you want to see statistics for both iOS and Android together? So that's where Google's Firebase really comes into the picture, and it's just Firebase itself is such a powerful suite of tools, right? But the stuff which I would like to focus on over here is analytics and Crashlytics. These give you an amazing level of detail into your app, and the statistics which you get, you can literally feel overwhelmed with it. And adding it to your app can literally be as easy as adding one dependency, and can be done in like 5 minutes. So it's super duper easy, and it's like something which I cannot recommend enough. Again, I'd like to take an example of my app Naplam, which, like I said, it's a app to create alarm based on a location, right? And when I was kind of making this app, I didn't really think much about who I'm targeting it to, like not like a particular country or anything. I just kind of meant it for people like me who used it for their daily commute, or long journeys or something. And only once I kind of started, once people started using the app, and once I started integrating analytics into the app, did I understand that this app has a pretty universal appeal. Public transport is not just used in India, but it's used all over the world, obviously. And I started getting emails in different foreign languages, and reviews in Brazilian Portuguese, Russian. And that's when I kind of realized the importance of kind of localizing the app. And that's the best part about Firebase. It gave me such an amazing level of control and detail over all these statistics, that I was exactly able to know what time my users are using. It's all anonymous, but what time my users are approximately using the app, in what location, and how I could optimize my experience for them. So I realized people in Brazil are using it quite a bit. So the first foreign language I added was Brazilian Portuguese. And sure enough, after that, I could really see the effect. I could see more downloads, I could see happier users, and even stuff like news articles mentioning it in their in like a small column in the newspaper. So I mean, I could really see the benefits of localization, and it's something which I couldn't have done without understanding the user. So understanding the user is such an important thing, and it's a really vital statistic to kind of grow your app. And that's the whole point of this short story I talked about. So I think the fun in creating an app is obviously really good, but the real joy, is when people use the app, when people give you feedback, and when there is an improvement on the app, which you can do based on their feedback. And that satisfaction is like nothing else. Just trust me on that. So with that, I think I'm going to have to wind up now. But I think, I hope I've given you a good overview of the whole cycle of app development. And if we have time, maybe I could take a few questions, maybe like 2-3 questions if I have a couple of minutes. Uh, Maybe Harsh, you could tell me if I have some time or if there are any questions. Okay. Either way, I mean, if you can think of something outside outside of this, I would love to also get in touch with you through Twitter. Reach out to me, and I'd love to answer any of your questions. So Harsh, back to you then. If there are no questions, I just let me know if there are any questions. I would love to answer them if possible.
That was some great session, Yash. Great talk. We all loved it, and we have been seeing it on the live stream over the comments. It was really commendable for you, Yash. Okay, so up next,
Okay.
if you guys can relate, a spoon, your hand, your face, paper, snow, or a ghost. If these words sounds relatable, and if you're a Friends fan, you might have guessed the game we have in store for you. No, not pyramid, but kind of close. It's gibberish. I'll be presenting you with some relatable images, and you will have to guess this Google related service, platform, tech. I think you get it. Any googliness that you can find in the images, answer it in the comment section. Next up, coming up, the gibberish game. Okay. So here we go, guys. This is Guess the Gibberish. I'll be giving you the first example. Like you see right now, we have a reaction emojis and some proper code in JS. And you see it's React JS. That's the answer. So similarly, I'll be showing you some images, and you'll have to crack what's the answer to this. So this is the next question. You can relate with these two images and think of any Google product or service. Come on, guys. This is the very first question of the gibberish. You understand the person in the left, and if you can think of what Doctor Strange is telling about. My God, I guess you need some kind of hint. Like if people remember, Doctor Strange said something about some numbers. He said something about numbers that was very, very famous. If you can think about some number. So, moving on with this question, if you guessed it right or not, this was something we are talking about Google, and that number that Doctor Strange is talking about is Google One. Yes, that was the answer for this gibberish. It was Google One. Moving on with the second question. Can you relate these two images? So, did you guys relate with it? This is something more of what the children are doing and what the men is trying to do. Okay, someone guessed it right on the section. It's play protect. Someone guessed it right in the comment section. Coming up next, this third one. Can you guess this gibberish? It's something about this thing that we wear and about a person or the particular job. So can you guess this answer? What is this gibberish? Some of the roadies fan out there, they must understand the first image very quickly. Yes, someone got it right. That's tag manager. Yes. This is a tough one. Let's see who gets this one. This is a difficult one. Let's see. It's probably about a road that's telling about going somewhere. Where is it going? Let's see who can get this one. This is an extremely tough one. Yes, Sagar guessed it right. Kudos to you, Sagar. And the answer is ways. The answer is right. The right answer is ways. This next one, this is pretty easy. Let's see who gets this the first. A dream office for a lot of us, and some stock market things for the second ones. For the people who are thinking that it's analytics, it's not exactly an analytics. Yes, so it's I'll reveal the answer. It's Google Trends that we are talking about. Okay, it's Google Trends that we are talking about. So I I wish to see you all there in that first image someday. This one coming up. What's this? There's some probably some data slabs or particularly a memory section in YouTube, I guess, in YouTube data center, and there's some microphones and some speech instruments out there in the second image. Let's see who can guess this one. This is very, very easy once you understand what the two images relate to. People are close to it. If someone said YouTube Studio, I'll say you're close. And we get the right answer. Yes, it's right. It's Data Studio. Someone guessed it right as a YouTube Studio, but it's not a YouTube Studio. It's a Data Studio that we are talking about in this gibberish. Okay, coming up next, pull up your sleeves. Here we have the next question. here we see the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and particularly paintbrush or any other painting instrument or something like this. You'll have to guess the relation between them too. Can guys relate to this one? People are saying Google Sketch. No, it's not Google Sketch. It's not even Picasa. Though I understand it's a Leaning Tower of Pisa, but it's not Picasa. So it's not paintbrush. Okay, I'll tell you guys. This is not Picasa. We'll get out of Picasa. This is not Picasa. Okay, I'll give the answer to this one. This is a pretty tough one. The answer is tilt brush. So as I told you, think of any googliness that you can think in the images, and you'll be probably getting the answer. So moving on for the next one, I'll be keeping a keen interest in the comment section for the next question. There you go. Can anyone think of this gibberish? These are two things that I like in my life. First is Google, and second is going to different places. Someone said Google Hike. No, that's two different companies. It's not even Google Track. Someone can guess this answer. It's more not on the track or hike. Can you think of any other synonym? It's not even Google Earth. Someone said Google Adventure. No, I'll be giving you some as an hint for the second image. The second word starts with E. Can someone get that answer now? The second image starts with an E. Okay, the first word is very, very obvious. The second word starts with an E. So now I'll be spoon feeding this one to you. The second image is like EX and it goes on. EX, not explore. So okay, I'll not beat around the bush anymore. It's not Google Express even. Okay, yes, it's right. Someone guessed it right in the chats. It's Google Expeditions. That's right. So moving on, the next one. Very relatable. I wish I had the second image at my home having a 5G internet connection and my Wi-Fi, but it's not. Ca- Can someone think about this one? It's very easy when you think about the second image. The first one is very, very pretty clear, and the second image is like kind of in the plate. You can just like eat it up, very easy. So, a- any answers? Any answers yet for this? Do you guys need a hint on this one? Okay, so this was Google Fi. This was Google Fi, guys. So this is the last one that we have here. The two things that we need: the Google Office and a degree. So what does this relate to? A Google product. What is it? The last one. Can anyone get this gibberish? There's some cool giveaways. It's not Google Classroom, quite near, but it's not Google Classroom. It's something different. Okay, so someone has got it. So yes, it's Google Scholars. Yes, someone get it right. It's Google Scholar. So with that, we come to an end of this gibberish rounds. Okay. Yes. And next up, we have Ayush Shekhar. It is not the voice that commands an event, but the ears which listen to it. We are back with the speaker sessions and for the ears eagerly waiting to listen to them. Flutter is known for its flexibility and versatility in building UI, but those super nested widgets trees can be overwhelming. In the talk, we'll explore different widgets that are used to create layouts in Flutter, a talk about some complex designs and how to approach them. In Flutter, it's not about if you can do it, but how you can do it. Everything's a widget. Next up, a full time Flutter developer who loves to indulge in fiction when away from code. We have amongst us Mr. Ayush Shekhar with his talk Building Layouts in Flutter, Simple to Complex. All's your stage, sir.
Thank you, Harsh. Thank you so much. That was indeed a very magnificent introduction. Just a quick logistics check. Uh, is my video, audio, everything, is it there? Yeah, I think so because I can see myself on the other screen. So, hi everyone. First of all, congratulations to the Developer Student Club team for putting together this great event. In fact, I could not have been happier. This is amazing. In fact, the gravity and the attraction this has got from the worldwide developer community is really amazing. And yeah, that's there in, and Harsh is doing a great job. And the previous talk, it was so amazing that I'm right now shaking because I don't know what I'm going to do. Anyways, um, in the previous talk you learned about and you became aware about different techniques, different frameworks, different aspects of creating your own application. And definitely now you have a very good idea that it's not that simple, right? But what if you have the right tools? What if you have the right resources that can actually make it a better experience for you as a developer? Because you would see a lot of talk about the user interface, the user experience, and how the app actually looks and feels to the end user. But before that, we need to take a step back and look at the developer experience, look at the tools that developers are using nowadays to create those apps, because that is what counts. If a developer is not happy, if a developer is not well equipped, he or she or whoever the developer is will never be able to create an application that is fulfilling to the user's requirements and to their use cases. And that is where Flutter stands out, because definitely it's still an early stage framework, but it is super production ready. There are so many apps on the Play Store, on the App Store, on the Mac Store, on the Apple App Store for Mac right now, that explain or portray for themselves how Flutter has been so amazing in bringing together the a good experience with a good expertise of app development. And yes, as you heard in the introduction, with Flutter, it is not about if you can do it, it is about how you can do it. And I'm talking strictly about the UI, definitely. If you need to do something that is very core hardware related, you can still do it, definitely, but you might have to write some platform channels for that, right? Meaning native code. So Flutter is growing and it is growing rapidly thanks to the Flutter team at Google. But as of now, I can definitely say that the performance and the tools it offers in terms of building and creating your amazing UIs is definitely sufficient to get an amazing and incredible app up and running. And that is what my presentation is about today. So let's get started. Yeah. Let me know when my screen is visible. I think it is. So, yeah, this is definitely a coding environment, and we will get to that. But before that, Let's follow the protocol. So, hello guys, welcome. Today's talk is about building layouts with Flutter. Some simple, some not so simple. But then again, that's what Flutter equips you for. Can you read this? Because I had a very hard time writing this. I hate good UI. Why did they make it so beautiful? I mean, how many of you have seen this spread across in Instagram bios, in Facebook posts, here and there? And people seem to think this is cool, but this is not. It's really cringeworthy. So the statement here says, I hate good UI. Why did they make it so beautiful? Can you imagine any end user saying this ever? I cannot, right? So that is where the importance of appearance and the importance of an experience comes in, because Flutter has already given you an amazing developer experience, right? So you need to take advantage of that, exploit that, and then build these three things: appearance, usability, and experience. That is what makes an app what it is. Because if I have a calendar app, and there are two apps on the market, one is a calendar app that is amazing, has all the tools and utilities that I would ever need. And there is a second app which has the same features but has a more appealing and a magnificent UI and design than the first one. I can tell you this for sure that 99% of users will go towards the app which focuses more on the appearance, which is easy to look at, good to use. And that is where usability comes in, right? Because with Flutter, with the tools that Flutter gives you, you can develop experiences, you can develop the parts and utilities inside your application that make your app usable, that make your app feel good in using. And all of that, all the appearance and the different kinds of widgets, pun intended, that you put in, all of them contribute to the experience of the app. And that is what is very important. It is very necessary. And that is what makes your app a successful experience for the users. So you know that Flutter is amazing. You know that you can build some great UIs with Flutter, but how do you do it? Because there are widgets and there are a lot of them. We are going to cover some of them today. But which ones are the key widgets that you will be using 90% of the times? In fact, in a talk that was delivered in Flutter Europe, I think early this year, the speaker said that most of the developers utilize only about 30 to 40% of what Flutter is capable of. In fact, that is true for the other technologies as well. For example, most of the designers utilize only, say, I don't know, like 25-30% of Adobe Photoshop or Illustrator or things like that. There is so much of potential. There is so much depth in these tools, but you do not use them. But because we try to stick to the ordinary, and that is what we need to come out of, because developing experiences, developing a feeling inside a user is definitely worth going beyond the ordinary and putting your creative imagination to work. So let's jump into code, right? Well, this is a simple Flutter application. And as you can see, there's nothing much. There is a screen on the phone, on the simulator. There is an app bar, which I could just put it there because we have an app bar widget inside Flutter, and it's that easy. Also, you can see that there is this property called center title, which I can use to just center the title. It's that easy, right? And after that, I have another widget that which is named center. So let me ask you a question, and you can answer in the chat, or you can leave a comment behind. How many of you have tried to center a div or anything using CSS? Now, I know that this is a very talked about thing, And in fact, even now when I'm doing web development, and if I have to center something, then I have to Google this first. And there are a lot of different approaches, there are a lot of ways, but trust me, none of them are so simple. And yeah, that's there. So in Flutter, you just have a center widget and you wrap anything inside it, boom, it's done. You get the text in the center. Consider this area as a blank canvas that you can paint however you like, however you want to. Some things may take more time than other things. Some things may not be so easy. But hey, what's the price of getting a good app? So you have to spend some time. But then again, Flutter makes it so easy. So you have seen one way of putting the text inside at the center of the screen, right? Let's look at another way. It's the same thing, the exact same thing, but Flutter allows you to do it using a container. And you can think of the container widget as a logical block, or as a logical block basically. So it is more like a div which you can mold in a way that you want, but there are a lot of very strong, very powerful inbuilt properties that you can use, and it will amaze you. So basically, we just found two amazing ways to center a widget or to center any element on the screen. You can just wrap it inside center, or you can wrap it in a container widget and then put the alignment property as center. It is literally as easy as writing English, because in Flutter you will see that all these parameters, whatever they expect, will mostly match with the name of the widget that you're going to use. So if you need a container, the widget is named container, not anything else. If you need a text, the widget is named text. If you need an image, the thing is named image. If you need an app bar, it is named app bar, so that it becomes really relatable to the user. Let's look at something different. Yeah, so what if you needed multiple widgets, multiple elements on the screen, and you needed them in such a way that they are one up, they are one below the other, right? So they are vertically aligned. So for that, basically, if I had to explain this to someone in plain English, I would say that I need a column of widgets, right? And in Flutter, you get a literal column of widgets. You can just wrap different widgets inside a column and you get a column of widgets. Similarly, there is a row. And if you want them aligned horizontally, you can just do the same thing. You can just switch the word column with a row and you will get it. Now, column also has some interesting properties. The first one is main axis alignment. Now, you will find these properties, both the main axis alignment and the cross axis alignment, in the column as well as the row. But in a column, what happens is that the main axis will actually be the vertical axis, since column is meant for aligning the widgets vertically, and the cross axis will be the horizontal axis, because column is not meant for aligning widgets along horizontally. So that is the cross axis, and the vertical axis is the main axis. Similarly, for a row, it will be vice versa, right? So for a row, the main axis will be the horizontal axis, and the cross axis will be the vertical axis. And you can even play around with the alignment. So right now you can see that all the three different text elements are, let's say, in the center, right? Because that's what we have been doing all this while. But what if you played around with the main axis alignment property? You would see that if you change that to start, what happens is that the entire column, all the widgets that are the children of that column, will go to the top of will go to the top, right? And similarly, you have other properties like space between. If you put in space between, then boom, it will put all the space it has in between the different children widgets. And if you put in space around, then there will be space around the different widgets, right? So that is how a column works. And similarly, all these properties are also valid for a row. And now that we have learned how to make a column and a row, we can make an app which makes millions and billions of dollars, and we can be great front-end or UI developers, right? No, not so fast. But I do realize one thing. At this point, most of you are like this. Wow, this is boring. Why didn't I just attend another university lecture? My professor couldn't bore me more, right? Because no one likes to look at code and the output of it, right? So let's do something exciting. And that is what I do in my talks. In all my sessions, every time I do some risk taking, which can totally tank my talk. But then what is life without risks, right? So let us switch over to our development environment and let us do some live coding so that you can actually see the magic of Flutter in real time. I don't know if you know, but with Flutter, what you can do is do a stateful hot reload. So for example, if I make any change over here, it will directly reflect on the simulator in which the app is running right now. As I told you earlier, what we can do is that we can just switch over from column to row, and voila, we now have a row, and the same properties, the exact same properties also apply to a row. If I put in space between, there will be a space in between all the different child elements. If I put in start, there will be, all of them will be knocked out to the start. And if I put in space evenly, then all of them will be evenly spaced, and it goes on, right? So similarly, you have also seen that the main axis alignment is the horizontal axis for the row as it was the vertical axis for the column. Now let's do something more exciting than a row or a column, right? Because yeah, so let us look at some powers that that the container has, because the container might sound boring, just like the initial part of my presentation, but it is not actually, right? Literally, it is not. Trust me, it is not. So if you put in a container over here, let me just wrap it with a center element, because why not? You want to center everything every time, always, definitely. Okay. And yeah, I can give it a color, but if I give it a color, then I will not be able to exploit all the different things that the column gives me. The column has a decoration property in itself. And what that means is that if I can give this column a height, let's say 100, then what I can do is I can give it a color. Let's say colors.blue, because that's what we have on the screen. And we have a container. Whoa, we have a square container. But we can also give it a border radius so that borders won't be that sharp, because these are the most common use cases, right? You can do this. So as you can see, the border is now not sharp. But if you increase this like to 50, then it becomes a circle. So, if I want to get a circle, should I just keep on increasing the border radius until it becomes a circle? No, that's probably not a good idea, right? So there is another property called shape that gives you an enum, and you directly get a circle. So you don't have to keep on increasing the border radius. Now, this was what are the widgets that we saw? We saw center, we saw container, we saw column, we saw row. There is another thing called stack. Yeah, there's something called stack. So what I can do is that over here, I can completely remove this. I can give it a color of, say, colors.red, because that's what you do for experiments. That's what you do for debugging. And let's just get rid of the app bar also, right? Now we have a full red screen. So nice. Again. So what we can do is that we can wrap this thing in a stack. What stack does is quite literally just puts one widget over another widget. So if I have a container over here, what I can do is, if I do the same thing, if I can just copy paste this code, and if I put it over here, I will have a blue container, because both the containers have the exact same dimension, but they are one over the other, right? And using this, you cannot really see the power of a stack. But what if I did this? So right now, the container, which is the blue container, which is above the red container, is actually aligned to the top. But then again, I would want to position the widgets at a certain place, right? Because what's the use of a stack if I can't position it? Thankfully for us developers, Flutter has something called position. So using this, what we can do is that we can actually give the opposition to the element or the widget that we are wrapping it on, and we can specify that it starts from bottom 10, but it didn't work. Okay. Right? So what I just did is that I positioned our element in the stack as, you can say, I positioned the blue container 100 points from the bottom and 100 points from the left and 100 points from the right. Using this, we could create two containers which are above one another. Still boring, right? So let's take another risk. Let's go to Dribble. I have searched for cool app designs, and let's try to build a UI challenge in real time in a talk, because what could go wrong, right? Uh, no, I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this. Too tough. Nah, it's too tough. No, no, no. Yeah, this looks nice, right? This looks really nice. Maybe we could do this. Wow. Should we do this? Well, if you bought that, I mean, it was an act, definitely. I wasn't really picking it in real time. I had already picked this. So we do not have enough time to go through the entire UI of this design. But what we can do is that we can go through this part and see how far we can build in the next 10 minutes. Right now it's 8:08, right? And since my talk started late, so I hope organizers will give me some time. So let's see that by let's say 8:15, how farther can we get? And we are talking about this design only. Also, I have this cool Chrome extension which gives you the color palette. So yay, hooray! Right? So yeah, it's there. Now, the first thing that you would notice is that there are two things in this stack. There is this yellow container in the background, and above that there is this white container, right? So what we can essentially do is, if we get to code, and if I can just put it over here, so it will be easy for me. Yeah, let's just get rid of the code and try and speed things up so that we can do something, or we can just fail in front of 500 people, because that's cool, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so what we can do is that first we need to create the background, the yellow background. So I can just get the code from here. We can put it over here, and we have the background. Ta-da! First step done. Oh, that wasn't the color, right? Definitely. This was. Yeah, so we have the background finally. Thank you. Also, The second thing that you would notice is that there is this white container in the bottom, right? So then again, what we can do is we can have another container that has height, let's say 200, and width double dot max finite, so that it takes up the entire width of the screen. And we can go to the decoration property, and we can give it a color of white, because yeah, it's white. Also, we can give it a border radius. Yeah, we can give it a border radius of, and as you can see, this, well, in this mock-up, it might look like it has a border radius in the bottom also, but it doesn't actually, right? It will just go down to the end of the screen, right? So what we can do is we can give it a border radius of only, and bottom left, and that will take a radius dot circular, and let's see if that's 20, right? So you can see it over here, and oh, it should not be bottom, it should be top, right? Yeah, panic is getting to me. We also need it on the top right. So we can give it the border radius as we want, but you cannot see it right now because it is at the top. So what we can do, we can put it at the bottom. Let's see if the alignment property does it. Nah, it does not. So we'll have to put it ourselves. Great. You can do that using the positioned thing. And if you put this to 0, then it vanishes. Great. Right. So now we have it over here, but what if we do all these things to 0? If we change it, voila, we have our white container, but it is too small. So what we can do is we can make it bigger, right? Not so much. Right. So we now have the layout. Congratulations. First thing done. Right. After this, what we can do is that in the container that is behind, it's almost 8:15. Let me just quickly do something. Right? We can put in a container, then we can put in we can put in a text element. We can call it event. We can give it a style. We can go text style. Then we probably need it to be bigger. So, and the color should be black, and the weight should be bold. Okay, not what we expected. Let's just give this the width property. Right, but where is our text? Yeah, there it is. Hi text. How are you? Hope you're fine. Now this happened because the actual height of the screen is way beyond the notch, right? So you need to put it inside safe area or something like that to actually bring it down. And we are almost at the end of our challenge. We haven't been able to complete anything, but yeah, we have learned something. We have learned the approach of how to actually go about building a UI, right? So when you first looked at this, it seemed quite difficult, but it is actually not. It is actually a pure combination of a stack that has two containers, one over here, the yellow one, and above that is a container in white, which has a decoration. Inside there is just a column. The first element of the column is actually a row wherein you have a text, you have an icon, and the main axis alignment is space between so that they are pushed to the corners on either side. Then after that, you have a space in between in the master column. Then you have a text. After that, again, you have a space in between. Then you have something called a horizontal scrollable view. Now, this may be a list view, this may be a page view, depends on what you like using. And inside that list view or page view, you have the individual elements that you can really easily create using a stack, right? So basically, this is a stack which has a container of these dimensions, and it has a background image. Then over that stack, you have positioned a white container which has a column of two texts, one bold text and one gray text. And over both of those containers, we have another container which has a box shape of circle, as we saw earlier in the design, during the code. And it is also positioned as per the first element inside the stack. That is the element which is at the bottom of the stack, right? So it is not really hard. A column, a stack, a row, a container, giving the container a shape, putting in some dimensions to position things correctly. That is all you need in order to create this UI design. It is not that difficult. And if I had some more time, I would definitely have finished it, because I'm not a bad developer. Please forgive me. But then again, this is how approachable Flutter makes UI design for you, right? This is how easy, this is how friendly Flutter makes UI design for you. Because, earlier, what happened was that with some agencies, not all, earlier, what the paradigm was that if a client comes to you and if the client asks for, show me a prototype, like how will this look, how does this work? So what you do then is that you create a design using Adobe XD or something like that, and then you show those designs to the client. But then what now you can do is, because of the paradigm shift that Flutter has caused, what you can do is that you can actually prototype these designs so quickly. If you have something in mind, you can just go ahead and code it. You can write down your code, you can see it live in action, you can actually tap on that button, you can scroll that list, and you can give your client, you can give your end user, you can give your potential beta user, or whoever you are trying to show the app to, maybe your parents, right? You can just give them the product right away. You can give them that feel, that minimal experience, so that it gives them an idea of what you are trying to build, of what you're trying to achieve. And that has been made possible using Flutter. So this is the kind of paradigm shift it has brought after Flutter was relieved. After Flutter was released, we had similar paradigms, similar standards, similar protocols followed in Swift UI, and it is a great tool also. You can check that out as well. But Flutter still remains, right? And another reason for Flutter being so cool is because of the community. I can tell you, as a learner and as an active member of the community, that if you want help, the Flutter community will give it to you. And that is what makes it so awesome. So I hope this talk was helpful. I think so. I hope so. I would definitely like to take some questions if we have some time left. But I do have a thank you slide. Give me some credit, guys. Come on. So I do have a thank you slide. And yeah, I forgot to change this placeholder image, because why not, right? So thank you. And you can reach out to me on Twitter, on GitHub, on LinkedIn. Most probably a quick search writing Ayush Shekhar show you my profile. But if not, you can definitely go ahead and follow me on twitter.com/Ayush Shekhar 17. That's where I post cool stuff about Flutter, some skills, some challenges, resources. And yeah, I'm really active on Twitter. You can get in touch with me. And I would love to collaborate with you. I would love to listen to you. I would love to learn about you, because that is what the Flutter community is about. And that is what actually Google communities are about. Thank you so much for having me. Over to Harsh. Let's take some questions if we have any.
Sure, sir. Thank you for giving us food for our Flutter thoughts, Ayush.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
I really like that talk, and because it was dinner time, so I thought it is the right food to take and the Flutter thoughts. Okay, so coming up next is the content creator from the code drop. Let me introduce him as he types his Wi-Fi password to join this meeting. A core member of Developer Student Club's Riva University, he fancies organizing web development and UI UX related events. You want a music app? Maybe you want a web page for your brand. Or if you want to make Conway's Game of Life, he can do it all. This session deals with an introduction to neumorphic design. What is it and how to implement it in a project? If that's the question, or how to pronounce neumorphic. Come, let's dive in. Handing over to Shivendra Saurav for neumorphic 101. Hello, Shivendra. You're not audible, Shivendra.
Okay, so am I audible now? I actually
Yes,
muted
yes, you're
myself.
audible now. Yes, you're audible now. Go on with your
Okay,
session.
so
Best of luck.
yeah, I'll just start it now. Share my screen. Okay, awesome. Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Shivin Saurav, and I've been designing and developing websites for a few years now. So I hope you have been enjoying DSC OMG. Obviously, it's the first day, but yeah, there have been some interesting sessions going around today, and this session is going to be interesting too, as we're going to discuss a new trend which has emerged in recent times. So this trend is called Neumorphism, and in this session, we'll see what this trend is and how to implement it in our designs. So first of all, what is Neumorphism? So neumorphism is basically a play on word skeuomorphism, and it's like combination of new as in recent and skeuomorphism. So that gives us the word neumorphism. And in skeuomorphism, what we do is we basically try to emulate real world objects in our designs. So like a switch on a wall. And in neumorphism, what we do is instead of focusing on the objects, we focus on color palette and the contrast of elements. So that's what neumorphism is. Now, the second thing you want to ask is what neumorphism actually looks like. So, neumorphism at its core is like an element which is protruding out of the stream. So, you might have heard of material design. In material design, what happens is that we have elements floating out of the stream. So, we design it like the elements are floating out of the stream. But in neumorphism, what we do is we make elements appear resting on the stream. So it's like that. So the best example again is a switch on a flat wall. So that's a really great example for neumorphism. And now we want to discuss how we achieve it. To achieve neumorphism, there are a few things to keep in mind. The first thing is that the background color of the container which you are working on and the element which you are making should have the same background. And then we need a light source. So the light source basically tells the direction on which the shadows will appear. And after that, we make the shadows to give our elements a neumorphic effect. I'll just show you the style, how it looks like. So there are four main parts, as you can see. There's a main background, there's a light shadow, there's an element background, and then there's a dark shadow. So what happens is that main background, element background should have same shadows so that we can get this contrasting effect. The light shadow basically is reflection of our light source. So in this example, our light source will be at top left, and that reflection is also on top left side of our element. Then again, the dark shadow is basically the natural shadow which the light would cause if it hits the element. So this is what our neumorphic element looks like. So now let's go ahead and see an example. So in this example, you can see that we have a button in normal state and thrust state. So in normal state, you can see that the button is protruding outwards of the screen, and when we press that button, so when I click on it, it seems like it has depressed under the skin, under the screen. So it's an easier way to implement our neumorphic design. And filling color is actually really important in this design, so that users can actually differentiate between different states, because shadows are not a great way to convey your differentiation for most users, because users may have some problem understanding the difference between the contrasts. So that's why we use a fill here for our button. Now let's see how we can implement it in a design tool and then using CSS. So first I'm going to go with a design tool, and I'm using Framer here. So you can use any other tool you want. You can use Adobe XD, or maybe you can use Illustrator, something like that. But I'm going to go with Framer. So first of all, we need a phone's diagram. So I'm using an iPhone 8. So you can use any other frame, that doesn't matter. First of all, we need a container. So let's make a container. This one will have a background of, we're going to go with an example background. So let's set it as D0D0FF. So it will give us a light purple shade. And again, inside of this frame container, we'll make another UI element, which will be our main focus. So this is the element which will have our neumorphic design applied to it. So let's add a radius to it. And what we're going to do is we'll set its background as same as our container's background. So let's set it as D0D0FF. And now you can see that you can't see the element for now, because they are the same background essentially. So what we're going to do is we'll select this and we'll start adding borders to it. So to get a neumorphic design, we need to add two borders. First gives us a light shadow, and second gives us the dark shadow. So let's go on here, and the first thing we want to do is we want to add a dark shadow. So dark shadow will have X value of 8 pixels, Y value of 8 pixels, and blur value of I've come up with a formulation which is 12 pixels. So it's basically 33% more than your X and Y values. So if I would have used 4 and 4 as my X and Y values, I would have gone with 6 as my blur value. So there's like that. There's some formulation which I have done. And again, I need to add one more shadow. So it's easier to add another shadow in Framer. That's why I'm going with Framer. You can always go with something else. So let's add one more shadow, and this time these values X and Y will be negative. So when I add negative values to them, what happens is they appear on the top side of the screen. So now you can see that this looks dumb because they are both black, right? So what I'll do is I'll just go to shadows again, and I'll change their color. What the fuck? Is it working still? Okay, I'm back live. Sorry, there was some trouble with my internet connection. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change the color of this box shadow, the negative one. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go with a white value. So there's FC, 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 and I'll set a transparency of 70%. So let me just type in 70 here. And again, I'm going to change the dark value also, and it's going to be 1E, 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 and its transparency is going to be 30%. So to keep in mind, your value should add to 100. So I've used in light shadows transparency as 70% and dark shadow as 30%. So they add to 100. So you should use values which add to 100, and that should be it. So this is a basic neumorphic element and how you can create it in an designing tool. So now what we're going to do is we'll just open a new project in Visual Studio Code, and now what we're going to do is we want to implement this in CSS and HTML. So let's just first of all add our boilerplate right here, and we're going to add our styles in the HTML tag itself, HTML page itself, because it's just a demo. Now, first of all, we're going to make a division of class container. So let's make it. Let's make a container right here, and let's give it some styles. So dot container is going to have a few styles. First of all, it will have display set as block, and then it will have a width of, let's say, 80%. And then what we're going to do is we want to set a background for it. So let's set the background again as D0, D0, and FF. Let's do it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set an margin auto for it. So the element the container becomes centrally aligned. So let's just do that. Let's go live and see what our code looks like right now. So now what we're going to do is we'll add one more element. So we'll call it class as, let's say, new, as in neumorphic element. So let's do that. And what we're going to do is we'll just set a height for it too. We shouldn't have set a height. And let's set a height of 80 viewport height. It should be enough. And we have our container right there. Now what we'll do is we'll start adding our classes to new. So let's add our new class right here. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'll just add again display of block, and width again, let's go with width of, let's say, 60%, and height of let's go with height of 40 viewport height, and margin of auto. So let's just save it, and let's add a background also. We need a background, and the background color is going to be same. So let's add DOFF right there. Now, as you can see that our element is not visible, and that's because we don't have it yet. So let me just open my code again. And now what we'll do is we'll add a box shadow to it. And let me just increase my font size. I've been getting this feedback, so I'll just increase my font size so it's visible. And let's add a box shadow, not sizing but shadow. And box shadow is going to be of, again we're going to go with an white value and then dark value. So let's first make our dark shadow. Let's go with hash 1e 1e 1e, and then transparency of, as I told, 30 and 70 as required. And then again, what we'll do is we'll add the size values to it. So it's going to be 8 pixels, 8 pixels, and 12 pixels of blur, to give us a dark shadow. You can see that dark shadow emerging right there. And again, what we're going to do is we'll add a comma, and then we'll again add minus 8 pixels, and blur of 12 pixels. Now this time we want the light shadow, so we'll go with hash fc and transparency of 70. So we get the light shadow. Now let's add a margin to it so we can get this UI element somewhat bottom. So let's add margin top, and we'll say of 20%. So that didn't work. Let's add a padding then. A padding of, again, 100 pixels this time maybe. So I'm just applying the same thing to the body also, so it looks right. Okay, now I'll decrease the height of my element. It does not look good like that, and it's good now. So we made our neumorphic design right here. We'll just add a border radius here, and the border radius of 45 pixels should be giving it a nice look to it, nice feel to it. And inside of this element, maybe we can just add a paragraph to show what it looks like if we add something. So to get this effect, we need some padding also to get the text on the correct place. So let's add padding of 10 pixels right there to get our text at a correct place. And let's just write, this is a basic new morphic element. Now this is how you can make native, easier new morphic elements using HTML and CSS, and this is how you can implement it in a design tool and then in the CSS. So this might just be the end of my session. So if you have any questions, you can send them right in. Okay, yeah, I forgot one thing. So I have a poll right there. So the question is, what do you think? Is this design trend, the neumorphic trend, gonna increase, or it's going to be stable, and or is it not going to be relevant in coming time? So you can just go to the poll and you can answer what do you think is right.
That was a great session. A lot of people liked it. I could see the enthusiasm in the comment section. I hope you see it well. There's a lot of love and a lot of comments that you have got from people in the comment section. Hope you like them. Okay,
Yeah.
sure. Saving the best for the last, as the Indian tradition goes. Our next speaker is one of those distinguished few who spearheaded her journey towards an innovative and collaborative future. What if I tell you that there are simple ways to be more productive, have more time, more money, and live a happier life? I guess you listened it right. What if I tell you there were some simple ways to be more productive, have more time, make more money, and live a happier life? Well, that was only to grab your attention. Coming to the point, we have the next speaker all the way coming from California. I would say with great zeal in the comment section, as the lockdown has suggested us, with great zeal in the comment section, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Erica Hanson, Global Lead of DSC Program and DevRel Program Manager at Google, for her topic, Impactful Communities, Courage to Care, Solve, and Share. Can we have Erica? Welcome, Erica.
Hi,
And
thank
as
you.
I must greet you in the Indian. Namaste.
Thanks so
Welcome,
much.
Erica.
Hi,
And
thank
as
you.
I must greet you in the Indian. Namaste. We are waiting for your session, and we are super excited for this thing, and we look forward towards a great session.
Thank you. Namaste. It's so nice to be here with all of you. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for hosting this great event, this Developer Student Club's OMG event. So it's so cool that so many of the Developer Student Club leads from India put this whole event together, and it's so cool to be speaking to members of Developer Student Clubs all across India. I know there's around 200 communities, so it's so exciting to be here.
Same, ma'am. We are excited for your session too.
Great. So I'll get started and share my screen with all of you. Here we go. Perfect. So let's get started. So I'm going to be, and let me just make sure that I'm sharing this properly, because I do have some video that I'm going to be sharing as well. So I'm just going to triple check the audio. I will be sharing a couple videos so that you can see some projects that other students around the world have also worked on. So thanks so much for joining. Again, as I mentioned, it's so cool that so many DSE communities across India have come together, and thank you for inviting me. So I'm going to be talking to you about impactful communities and having the courage to care, solve, and share. But before I do that, I'm going to share a little bit about my career journey. So I am from California, and that's actually where I am right now. I normally live in New York, but I am currently in California at the moment, in Los Angeles. So I've been at Google 13 and a half years now. I went to Stanford University in California, where I studied psychology and communications. And fun fact, I also played rugby there as well, which was really fun to play while I was there. And I did take one computer science class, and that's where I first learned how to build my first simple website, and definitely realized, okay, I'm interested in technology. Let's see what more I can learn. Eventually, I joined Google. That's where I started out working with small to medium-sized businesses on their marketing strategies. Eventually, and that's the picture in the top right, moved to London, where I did sales operations, eventually moving here to Singapore for 4 years. That's this picture in the middle here. And that's basically where I joined the developer relations team. And we really were aiming to help developers be more successful. And so I focus mostly on Indonesia. So you're going to hear a couple Indonesia stories within this presentation. And eventually I moved to New York, which is where I currently live, been there for a couple years. And that's where I'm leading the Developer Student Clubs program globally. And that's when I was in Singapore is when I first got really interested in communities and excited about communities. And this was one of my first community events. That's this picture here. It was a Google Business Groups event. And what I realized I loved about communities is really that through communities, it's a place where you can go to find other people with similar interests, and you can learn from other people, share with other people, and it provides a place to network and find other people that maybe you want to work on a project together, and more. So I really love that passion and that feeling of being part of a community. And that's what inspired me to also start a community in Singapore. So I co-founded Geek Girl Meetup Singapore with a couple of friends, and we focused on events for women and supporting them through their startup journeys, and did design thinking workshops, etc. So that's my journey. And now I want to share a bit about Developer Student Clubs. I know you've heard a bit about this already, but just wanted to share a little bit more about the journey and how many clubs are around the world. So as you probably know, developer student clubs help student developers like all of you and us learn globally and work with their communities to solve real life problems. And it's really about impact. And we want to support you in impacting students like yourselves and empower all of you to impact your communities through technology. So it is really about impact, and that's what we're going to be talking about today in this presentation, about impactful communities. And I just wanted to call out that DSE did start in India in 2017. So it's really exciting that this event is taking place as well in India, and that so many of you are part of this journey with us today. And it did start as a way to bridge the gap between theory and practice. And we wanted to provide students with resources and experiences to help them become more industry ready. And then the program moved to Indonesia and Sub-Saharan Africa. And I was really happy to work with the students in Indonesia. That was really exciting. So you're part of a global community. There are developer student clubs are on campuses in over 850 campuses around the world in a number of countries, Europe, US, Canada, and India, and in many other places. And it is continuing to expand also into Latin America within the next month. So you are part of a global community, and definitely you can connect with people online, other people part of developer student clubs, and potentially work on projects together and connect. So, and the program is university-based, but it's also not only in person, but also online, and that's what helps us, all connect here today and be part of this virtual community as well. So what I'm going to be talking about is impactful communities. So would love for you in the chat to share. I did have a question. Would love for you to just chat in the window. How do you think a community can be impactful? If you can share some of your thoughts on how can a community be impactful. So just take a minute to share that. Great, so thanks for sharing. And also, if you could share, how can you make an impact within your community? If you can also share some ideas on that as well. Great. So thank you so much for sharing. And I think, this is, really important, and all really great ideas and points about, how communities can be impactful and how you can be part of that impact by being potentially an active member in the community. Community can be impactful through working on cool projects that solve local problems, or they can also be impactful through as a place to learn and to share information with other people, to share what's new with certain technologies. These are different ways that we can have impactful communities. So thank you for sharing that in the chat. So I'm going to be talking about having the courage to care, solve, and share. And this is one way to show impact through communities. And so basically having the courage to care about the community, care about solving local problems and supporting the community outside of the one that you're specifically in, having the courage to solve local problems around you, to get together in groups and work on projects that might solve local problems in your area, and then also having the courage to share. And by share, I mean a few different things. One is sharing, inspiring others and sharing your journeys, whether that's online. It could be sharing in terms of sharing your own knowledge, sharing by mentoring one-on-one. So that can mean a couple of things. So let's get into some examples. And as I mentioned, I did spend 4 years focused on Indonesia. So I do have this first story is from Indonesia. So I wanted to talk about having the courage to care. So first, I'd love for you to meet Hastu. Hastu is a part of a developer student club in Indonesia. This was last year, and she decided to join a developer student club workshop to learn more about Android. She attended a workshop led by a DSC lead named Tessia. So that's Tessia here on the left and Hastu on the right. I've had the cool opportunity to meet with both of them. So she attended this workshop, and Tessia mentored Hastu during her Android journey. So that's the two of them there. And then Hastu did join a project team. So she was able to get together with a group, and they said, hey, is there a project we can work on together? Is there a local problem that we can solve together? So Hastu decided to build her first app, and it was to help blind students and connecting them to local volunteers. And so that was the first project she worked on. And Tessia shared the Hastu's Android journey with us, and the journey of her through this developer student club. And it was really cool to hear how her Android journey started and continued. And she also came to I/O, and it was cool because she met our CEO at I/O. And also Hastu joined me on stage. There was a GDG or Google Developer Group Summit where she shared her story with over 500 people in the audience, which was awesome that she shared her journey. And so this is Hastu. She's a developer, and one thing I didn't mention is that she thought that because she was hearing impaired that being a developer might be difficult, but she was able to learn Android, get mentorship, work in this project team, have a community that supported her and that she also supported. And all of that was about the community and having an awesome leader. So Tessia gave her that platform to grow as a developer. She built this community and ran these workshops on Android. And she personally cared very much about Hastu and the other people within her community and mentored Hastu and many others. And also the community cared. They wanted to get together and, as a community, solve local problems together. They wanted to support Hastu, but also each other, and answer questions and mentor each other. And I call it being a friend tour, or a mentor, but also a friend. I think we can be friend tours to each other, and I have friend tours, and I'm a friend tour to other people. So the community really cared and supported not only Hastu, but everybody. And so that's what I mean by having the courage to care as a community. You can create impact together, but it all comes from, caring and wanting to support each other through your learning journeys, and caring by supporting each other. And when anyone might be having a challenge, jumping in and supporting and mentoring. So that's what I mean by having the courage to care. Now I'm going to be talking about having the courage to solve local problems around you. And to do that, we're going to go to SSA, and I'm going to be sharing a story of some students that basically looked around them and said, is there something that we can solve for right here on our campus or right next door? And they got together as a project team to work on this together. So I'm going to play a video right now, and you'll hear more about this.
When I came to first year, I found it difficult navigating a lot of facilities on campus. Most first year students, they found it a major challenge. So I said, okay, this is something that we really need to solve. The DSC is a community where students who are like-minded come together to learn technologies in cloud, Android development, and web development. So after a few workshops, I figured that we could solve accessibility for first year students. We decided to use them more as a use case to build a navigation system using AR technology. At first, people were like, this is really a complex problem to solve. But then, after we broke the problem down, we realized that all the technologies we had to use, we had already learned them in our DSC workshops.
When I heard about it, I was like, give it, I need to join this project because I was lost basically the entire first academic year. And that's what DSC does. It gives you a project and to make sure that you are well equipped to work on the project.
So we had a lot of volunteers and we broke them into teams. First, we had a Blender team to get a 3D model of the building. Then we had the Unity and scripting team who got the models and made it interactive and available to the Android team, who built the screens and the app and used Firebase, which stores user data and for business analytics. And we had the UI team who created the design assets and all the dynamic interfaces you see. Last, we had the documentation team who put everything into one file to make it available to the open source community.
My name is Paul and I study chemistry. I got inspired by attending one of the DSC seminars. I'm actually very impressed about my advanced journey here because as a computer science student, I just have to focus on the QC part, computer building tasks, but he has something else to do. But he's still taking some time off to help us and he's really doing a good job. Now I can do Android apps. That means I can do that as a part-time job and maybe chemistry as my full-time job or maybe the vice versa.
There were times that we had to meet in the evenings, there were times we had to meet early in the morning just to get the project working.
It was hard, but then we look at the bigger picture and realize that, okay, we can do this. So, yeah, DSC is a family and it's about the learning of teamwork and leadership.
What we've built is not a perfect app, but we've come a long way by being able to use the knowledge that we gained from our DSC workshops. My God, this is cool. Who really love this?
Great. So thanks for watching that with me. It's so cool to see students getting together to work on a project as a community, and that's what one thing that the student Joseph actually mentioned in here is that that's what DSC does. It gives you a project and makes sure you're well equipped to work on that project. And so that is a key part of the program is, you're learning and also but putting that into practice and kind of getting your hands dirty and building something with other people in your community, whether it's in person or this can also be connecting virtually and doing this online as well. And so working on a project to, as I mentioned, just put those skills to practice. And we do have the solution challenge, which you may have already heard of, but and basically that happens once a year. So we're wrapping that up now, but it's happening again early next year, where students basically come together and work on projects that solve a local problem using Google technology. And another thing I like that Joseph mentioned was that DSC is a family, and it's about the learning of teamwork and leadership. And I'd say, this is a case with community, that basically it's a place where you can learn, but also it really is about teamwork and leadership. If you ever are part of a project team, I think that really does help with later on with career as well, because actually everything I do within my job is in teams, always working in teams. So having that ability to work as a team as early on as you can really helps, and building up those leadership skills, like taking on a specific ownership of a piece of that project or leading the project team. I think those skills are really important to work on. And so that's how they got together to solve. And what's cool is they looked around them and they said, okay, so students, they get lost on campus all the time. Let's use the local mall as a use case. And they said, hey, how can technology support us through this? And so that's when they built that AR VR navigation app. So that was really cool to see how they thought about solving that. And now I want to share an example of some students in India. So this was from last year at CMRIT. So let's take a look.
What we do at DSC is students get a lot of exposure. They're going to their local businesses, solving very simple problems. My DSC has a combination of people from multiple domains. developers, we have web designers, UI designers. The apps that we generally build are to help local businesses. We have worked with the local cafeteria, we have worked with the local tea vendors. So we go to them, find out what their problems are, and we try to develop an app for them.
Great. So that was Christy and his team from last year. So this was actually Duisburg. So we went to visit. This was a couple of years ago. Sorry. We went to Duisburg to visit the owner, the entrepreneur who runs it, and this is where Christy and his community went to ask some questions and better understand, is there something that we can solve for or support you with? And so they ended up building a simple app for him to support him. And so it was just really cool that it was great to be there and meet the entrepreneur and just learn more about their process of how they got together as a team to solve and work on a project together with the local community. And so just, as a community, it's so cool that you can get together to think about things that you can solve for as a group. And I think having that team dynamic is really awesome, and that you have people to support and think about not just the community, but the community beyond you, and local businesses or NGOs, or if there's something to solve for, thinking about, how can we support? Is there something that we can do to contribute our time, to give back and build a solution to support the broader community? And now I'm going to talk about having the courage to share. And so by share, I mean a couple of things, as I mentioned earlier. Sharing the impact within your community. So I like this video from DSC BVP Pune, how they shared like, hey, let's just celebrate the year and do a bit of a recap of what we did together as a community. It was and through impact, by impact I also mean, people got together and learn. They were able to build together, learn together. And so they shared their workshops and a bit about what they learned. So sharing impact can be online and sharing your journey as a community. It could also be sharing your personal journey. This was one developer student club lead who shared their journey as a lead. I've also seen people share their journey in building a specific project, tips and tricks, things that they learned, best practices, to hopefully inspire or help other people on their own journeys as well, sharing where people had ran into challenges and how they solved those challenges. So those are a couple ways I've seen people sharing their journeys. But it doesn't have to be online. It can also be just in person, one-on-one, through sharing, through mentoring. When you learn something new, being open to sharing that with other people, sharing with other people who may be going through some challenges and supporting them through that, because maybe you also experience some of that. It could be sharing through teaching as well. So this is I actually was a beginner. I took an Android for Beginners Udacity course and learned Java, XML, and enjoyed that journey. And eventually I was a co-facilitator for a group of 8 women. And my co-facilitator was also my mentor, so she was there to support. And we were teaching a beginner level Android course. So that was a cool process of learning, having a mentor, and then also being able to teach and share that with other people. And sharing can also be through speaking, whether you take the stage at an event and speak and share your knowledge with other people, and whether it's speaking or sharing online through GitHub. There's other ways to share and support other people through their own journeys, and maybe that will inspire them, or it'll give people the best practices and tips as they are getting started on their journey as well. And so I love this quote from Tony Robbins, that the only limit to your impact is your imagination and commitment. It's really, impact is limitless, and it's really and it means something different to different people, and it could be big or it could be small, but it really is just limited by your own imagination and your commitment to that, to being committed to follow through with that. And you can make an impact within your community. Communities can be impactful, and people within them can be impactful. So everyone can play a role. All of you can play a role. And thank you for sharing your comments earlier. I really think that all of you can have an impact in your community. It could be, so within the community itself, you can even be an active member, asking questions and being an active participant and joining events. You can also, impact can be being a volunteer at an event. Maybe you can help check people in and supporting and getting the promotion, getting the word out. You can have impact by being a facilitator of a workshop. You can lead a workshop. You can also be a speaker if you're an expert in something, or just have something that you want to share. Then you can do that as well. Impact can also be working on a project together that solves a local problem. Beyond that, impact can be mentoring someone else within the community. And so impact can be different things. It can be big or small. It doesn't have to be huge, changing the world or really like doing, so much. It could be even just those small acts of kindness and supporting other members in your community. And as I mentioned, everybody can play a role. And so just to wrap up, it's really, when I say impactful communities, I think a key part of this is just having the courage to care, solve, and share. And so I did share a few examples of this. People having the courage to care within Hastu's community, they really cared about each other, the community. They had empathy for each other, respect for each other, wanted to support each other, and had an awesome leader, Tessia, who guided them through their journeys, and they also guided each other and built a really cool project together. And so having the courage to care as a community and for the people in your community. Also having the courage to care for people beyond just your community. And having the courage to solve local problems. So we saw a couple of cases of that, students getting together to work on projects to help other students on their campus or to support local businesses. And then having the courage to share, and sharing in terms of sharing your own journeys that could potentially inspire and support other people, but also it's about sharing your knowledge or sharing just being a supporting team member and potentially mentoring other people and being an active member of your communities, because you really can all have an impact within your communities, and your communities can be impactful. And already I just love communities. I think it's awesome that you have a place to find other people who want to share, learn, have ideas. And it's a great place to learn and build cool things together. And so all of you can be part of impactful communities, and you're already part of these developer student clubs. And I encourage you to continue to be active and members of your communities, whether it's developer student clubs or other communities as well. But also, let's not forget that we should also have fun. It's important to have a good time as well, and smile and just have a laugh every once in a while as well. That's always important. So thank you so much for listening. You can follow me on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out through Twitter or Instagram as well. Would love to stay connected. Would love to see what you build and what you're all doing within your communities. So thank you so much for listening.
That was an amazing session, Erica. A round of applause for you and the DSC OMG team. In the comment section, of course.
Thank you so much. It was so great to be here, and thank you for inviting me, and thanks to all of you for listening. It's so great to be here with you. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, ma'am.
Bye.
We literally ran a tech marathon today, and we are still not tired. Let's give each other a round of applause in the comment section. Do share your experiences on our social media handles with the hashtag DSC OMG. We would love to hear from you guys. And this was just day one. We have lots more in store for you. A session on new superpowers of the web, and some speakers like Saurav, Angad, Bharat, Anubhav, Akash, and our very own DSC Superman, Nikhil Raichur. It's going to be a web track tomorrow, and if, like me, you're also confused between front end and back end, then tomorrow is the right day for you. If you believe today was the right day for you, then show off your badges online while you tag us in the post. So stay home, have good food, sleep well, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to show some love for the DSC community. See you guys tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. for more power packed sessions. Until then, this is your host, Harsh Singh, aka Harshpreneur, signing off. Thank you very much and good night.